Hey guys, Mozo Negron Tech here. So I'm bringing the day 2 update. I think I've been playing like 13 hours over the past 2.5 days, including a little bit of today. And it's been going really, really well, obviously. Like, it's not a surprise that Ancestral Commander is just absolutely like a bonkers ascendancy. There's a lot of bonkers ascendancies going on. I'm a melee person, I've always have been, so this is what I love to do. I love playing Earth Shatter builds. And today I'll give you some starter updates. And if you haven't really, if you're new, you haven't played last league or any of the settlers and don't really, or not really familiar with war cries, auto-exert, overexertion, and how to really play an Earth Shatter setup properly, because there is kind of like a big gap of misinformation out there, I'll go into it and talk about some of the common issues. So just getting started, I'll get into my gem setup. Endurance charge, because we are endurance charge stacking. You get 9 endurance charges as the Ancestral Commander, which is bonkers. If you end up getting a Combs ring, I'm in solo self-found, but if I do find one, I'll probably equip at least one. If you get more with the corrupts with endurance charges, that's great. Earth Shatter, obviously, overexertion is massive because you're always exerting your attacks, like 4 to 5 exerts, something like that. Melee Fizz is great. For your other 4-link, which is easy to do, Enduring Cry, Seismic Cry, this is my manual setup. With urgent orders and life tap, just so when I do need endurance charges on demand, I have a really long duration with the skill tree. And, you know, Seismic Cry, why am I self-casting it? Why not? I normally would do Intimidating Cry with Second Wind, so you have more uptime on double damage, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. For now, just for early mapping, you know, level 84, you don't really need it. You could just have auto-exert on Intimidating Cry and deal with that. Going to the auto-exert setup, General's Cry, Intimidating Cry, auto-exertion, and Rallying Cry. You enable auto-exertion, and then really on cooldown, they just trigger as soon as their cooldowns are over. Because we attack decently slow as of now with like really suboptimal gear, you're not going to always, well, really you're going to double attack, get double damage as you're attacking with this setup now, which is okay, but later on in the game you really want Intimidating Cry on Second Wind, and you want quality on all your war cries. One thing that you can do, the reason why I use General's Cry even though it doesn't exert, is because it explodes the spike, so it's a much more smoother playstyle for those people that hate the piano war cries and don't want to press really anything and just walk around. You know, Frostblink and Earth Shatter, General's Cry enables you to consistently explode spikes. Auto exertion does not work while you're in a hideout, so that's why you're not seeing it now. And then Vulnerability, Battle Mage's Cry. Eventually, you can have this on like your 5 or 6 link auto exert setup. Blood Rage, yep. And then for our mobility, Leap Slam and Frostblink. Frostblink is incredible. I always tell melee people, like, one of the biggest improvements of survivability is to use Frostblade, Blood and Sand, and Flesh and Stone. We probably can fit in different auras right now, but you just don't need it. The build is so tanky, so strong, the damage is so good early on because of auto-exert, because of overexertion, endurance charges that you really don't need to really min-max, and I'd rather just play a comfortable playstyle without worrying about, oh, damn, now I gotta change my gear around, I gotta do this and that. It's just simple to just, you know what, I'll just use these cheap 2 Blood and Sand and Flesh and Stone for some survivability and then damage on command when I need it. So next really issue is talking about mana. You know, early on it doesn't matter. If you're in trade, you might have like a fully built character already. But for those of solo self-found or like me, like more casual, it's just easier to just get mana leech on the tree, get a little bit reduced mana reservation efficiency or increased, and then also over here getting it too. You can get more ores right now. You know, I only have 4 links everywhere, so I don't really care to do it. Once I get better gear, establish the city and get some more shipments, I'll probably work on that. But mana efficiency early is really not too much of an issue. Just drop an ore or something. You really don't need it. Like, Pride is not going to really help you in mapping. Determination is really, really not needed, especially as a commander. If you have your 4th lab ascendancy, you get tough and skinned, so that's really, really incredible. And that's really how you solve mana. Just, you know, drop an ore or something. Hopefully you get mana leech on your gloves or rings. That'd be incredible, so you can save 4 points over here. And, you know, just use these mana nodes over here, and that's pretty much it. Mana is not too much of an issue. People overthink it. If you're having mana problems, drop an ore. It's not a big deal, right? Next up, we'll talk about the Ascendancy. The Ascendancy is absolutely incredible. Call the Ancestors, in my opinion, is mandatory. You don't need to do this, but what Call the Ancestors really does, and I talked about this in my starter video, is that it saves you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, 7 if you get another mastery over here. And it saves you 7 points and gives you even more CDR. This would give you 30, 42, 72, 80, 82, right? No, 87 CDR on war cries, and this gives you even more. The war cry speed is not a big deal. You can always get urgent orders to offset that, and you have a Admonisher later on when you have the Anoint. Like, you wouldn't go all these, you would just get a Admonisher. But it's just, it's incredible, right? So like that's a massive amount of cooldown recovery. This actually helps a lot of the people that are too lazy to just self-cast Intimidating Cry with Second Wind. So for a lot of people, like one of the biggest issues I saw with builds, Earthshatter builds lastly, people are like, damn, when I do Uber, my damage feels like really, really bad. And it's because they're not always doubling their damage with attacks because they would auto-exert Intimidating Cry. There's no reason, unless you're just lazy, to auto-exert Intimidating Cry. I'm doing it now because you don't need the damage. But later on in the game with like T17 Ubers, you really, really want to Second Wind and Intimidating Cry. I don't think it's worth it to go call the Ancestors and then go all the way over here. Again, that's 6 points that you can utilize for more damage and stuff. Maybe you want to argue about the increased AoE. I don't think it's really worth it. The clear, even out corpse explosions, incredible. And talking about that, why am I going Deathrattle? Again, I play games for fun. It might not be the most optimized choice. Born Under Fire and Defiance of Destiny and Ancestral Defiance are really, really incredible. Are they objectively better than Corpse Explosion and War Cry's opening chests? Yeah, they are. But again, it's a lot of fun exploding corpses, especially 12%. That's really, 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 really good. So exploding corpses, like things like Blight, and even like early on while mapping when we don't have great damage, having that secondary explosions, it really, really helps. Because what I want to do this league is focus on Blights when you're doing some of these settler mechanics, especially like the charge up. You have those really, really tanky rares. You can get a high density. Again, POE 1, super high density mobs. And you can actually just really just rely on Deathrattle to kind of like how DD does it back in the day when Detonate Dead was incredible. You can actually kind of use this to help scale you through the later maps as the corpse life gets higher. So that's really, really cool. You don't have to go it if you want to be super tanky, but Ancestral Endurance by itself is just absolutely nuts. Like, as soon as you get Ancestral Endurance, like, as soon as I got this in Act 10, your health bar, like, almost never goes down. It's, like, it's crazy how tanky you get, even without, like, the capped resist or capped chaos res. So the last one, again, I talked about this in the starter. I'll probably go Toughened Skin. Toughened Skin to me just has more value while mapping. You have all these slows, grasping vines, all these like other like crazy crap that's like super annoying. Getting double armor, because again, remember, big rework about 7 months ago where you don't need to go Determination or Grace. Your armor bases or evasion bases are going to be incredible. So now you get even more armor from your body armor because they have a much higher armor base compared to like past 7 months ago. So that has even more value. And not being able to be slowed or the action speed is just like crazy. Like you deal with temporal bubbles. This negates so many mechanics that it's almost like mandatory. And then if you really, really want to optimize it, yeah, you don't need to go Deathrattle. You can go either Born Under Fire or Defiance of Destiny. I like Defiance of Destiny more than Born Under Fire. You're going to get enough PDR from your side, like physical damage resistance, that you don't really need this, and it's only nearby. So like the things that this will really help you with is getting off-screened, but it doesn't help you get off-screen because it's nearby enemies, right? So I would probably favor Ancestral Defiance over Born Under Fire. Next up, talking about the tree, this is very, very standard. A lot of the Juggernaut, well, Marauder trees are going to be kind of the same. Nothing really unique. This is just like probably some of the most efficient pathing you can get. The only caveat that I'll say is that early on, I think Unwavering Stance is really, really, really good until you get better gear and you get better stun resistance because of my base armor is low. Getting all this Warcry speed is necessary before you get the Anoint. Again, I'm solo self-out. I'm not going to like super farm fast. I work full time. And getting the Mana Leech here is just really, really nice. Just solves a lot of the issues early on instead of worrying about, oh, well, it's not the most optimal thing. It's not. But you don't have to be super optimal when you're just starting out with the league, right? So everything else is standard. You'll drop some of these points over here later on. This will be your only mana node later on. We get all the endurance charges. We'll get some jewel sockets later on too. I really don't need the reservation efficiency right now, but why not? You can get the Bastion Breaker, which is really, really incredible, especially for the physical resistance mods. And you have Fortify on hit. There's really nothing to really talk about except for this little cluster over here. Why I go that, I kind of explained it, but again, eventually when you get better gear and you get that necklace, that amulet, you'll just Anoint and Mana Share, and you'll pretty much be smooth sailing from there. And that's pretty much it. I will talk about maybe if I do another video. This is going to be the only build I play. Don't have a lot of time. But I probably will talk about later on, like if you see my POB, I do go Defiant Stand. This is absolutely incredible. The auto-exerts do generate Valor, so when you're doing Uber bosses, you'll have pretty much your banner 100% uptime. It's ridiculous. Massive damage boost. And then, for me, it's kind of a meme, but If you see some of my older Earthshatter builds, I love the Impaler. I'm a big fan of the Impaler. Increased impale effect on enemies that are not impaled. So it's a lot of fun. It's really like visually satisfying, and that's pretty much it. My other note about the passive skill tree is that if you are using axes, which you probably are, then and if you're going Deathrattle like me, just don't get enemies killed by your hits or destroy, because that way if you destroy your corpses, you can't explode them. So if you think Deathrattle isn't working, that's probably why. One other technical aspect I'll talk about is that a lot of crashes this league. I don't know what it is. I hear that it's happening on Intel chips too, but for the X3D chips, I have a 7800. DirectX 11 was not blue screening to death my computer, but it was pretty much crashing it every couple hours. Even when temps are like, let me show you. Even when temps are like at, in the 70s. Even with like, I have you'll see the undervolt that I'm running over here. Wait. Where's my voltage settings? You'll see like the undervolt like 0.20 volts, 1/5 of a volt, right? So even with that, like it's still crashing, never getting up to like even like the 80s, and that's the actual highest die reading. So DirectX 12 should fix the crashing or Vulkan, but when I do Vulkan, it like completely fucks with like the visuals of POE. So that does suck. There's also like POE uncrasher if you're experiencing those crashes, and that's pretty much it. The playstyle again is very simple. I talked about Autoexert Setup, war cries. You run around and you pretty much just let your war cries explode everything for you, right? You can focus on using your flash as buttons, and you have the corpse explosion. It's incredible. It's super tanky, super fun, and it really highlights like how weak the POE 2 playstyle is, which is like a whole nother conversation. Even though I do like the POE 2 melee, but I just wish some of the skills were better comparatively to the rest of the game. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's like my starter update. If you have any questions, please let me know. I've been doing this a long time, and I know pretty much every little in and out when it comes to like Earthshatter, war cries, and exerting and stuff like that. Most of Deathrattle Tech here. If you have any questions, comments, or sharing again, just let me know. Have a good one.